Hey, welcome everybody to Out on a Limb. I hope you're enjoying yourself, both the artwork here and what happened outside, which was great, only in Eugene.
Well, my first ever flash mob I've ever seen.
Well, maybe not only in Eugene, in Portland I'm sure does it, but
not in
anyway, we want to thank you all for coming. The Eugene Symphony is helping to sponsor this art walk. We hope you're enjoying it on this nice warm summer day. And you can sign up to get a free ticket for one of the series of our 50th anniversary symphonies. And there are people with baskets right here. You just need to sign up and they'll draw at the end of the evening. You do not have to be present to win. So enjoy yourself. Remember before you leave that the alcohol has to stay inside, so leave it when you're getting ready to go. And we'd also like to have you hear from Judy Waller, who is a watercolor expert, so we're going to let her talk all about herself.
Okay. It's kind of a little retrospective of my last 10 years, a sampling of some of the work that I've done. I'd also like to introduce my husband, John. I call him Fox. And I'd like to introduce my son, John. I call him JQ. Fox and I come from Roseburg. JQ is from Portland, and he's the founding partner of Uncage the Soul video productions. Amazing work, award-winning work. You may have seen some of it on OPB. So my family's here with me, and I thank all of you for coming. John and I, Fox and I, had a 40-year career in scientific illustration. We prepared illustrations for college-level textbooks in all areas of science. And the first half of our career, we worked with pen and ink, amberlith overlays, adhesive-backed typeset labels for our illustrations. The second half of our career was all done digitally. This is an illustration that we did for a psychology textbook published by McGraw-Hill. Do you recognize JQ? I'm going to put the microphone down because I want to show you the actual illustration in the book. There's my boy in the psychology. I've used my dog, I've used my husband, I've used myself. Thank you. So I've been watercolor painting most of my adult life. Really all my life, but mostly in my adult life. On and off. You know how life goes. You have a kid, you don't have much time for painting. In fact, my wedding gift to John was a watercolor painting. And every year for our anniversary, I painted him a little rose. 40 years, 39 years. So I started out, I have my out on a limb pointer. I started out with botanical illustrations. Just a little illustration of a flower on a white background, very simple, very detailed. I'm a real detailed person, a scientific illustrator, so this is what I really loved to do. But after doing that for a while, I realized that I was really taken by the details and the markings in the center of the flower, so I kind of zoomed in to paint those. And it's almost an abstract composition. And then after that, I added some more painterly backgrounds, more like pictures, and painted a whole garden full of floral paintings. But other subjects lured me too. These orchids came from a week-long workshop in Hawaii where we spent a whole week painting Hawaiian orchids on an open lanai. It was wonderful. This fruit platter was served to us on the last day as part of a luau, and of course I wanted to paint it. So this is actually a little study to work out how I was going to render some of those fruits. So John and I are photographers also, and we're always prowling events and places looking for subject matter for our photos and for my paintings. So my paintings are done from photographs. You can tell that if I tried to paint something like this outside on location, it'd be day and night and day and night and day and night before I got it done. So I take the photo that I want, getting the composition I want, the lighting and so on, and then I take the photo into my studio and do the paintings there. So I started with, I graduated to these paintings and these. These were taken from photographs that I took during a classic car event. The reflections of the classic cars in the windows of the shops, showing what's inside the shop and what's outside the shop. Very detailed, very challenging. And the hats as well, very detailed. I really wanted to capture the details and the textures in these paintings. But after all this controlled, eye-straining, detailed painting, I was ready for big shapes. So the dahlia, the close-up of the dahlias, these I concentrated on the shapes, those beautiful graceful curves, the delicate blendings of color, and really enjoyed that. Gave my eyes a great rest. This painting was accepted into Blossom 2 in 2010, which is an international competition, all art about flowers. It was one of 100 that was accepted into the show from over 2,000 entries worldwide. And it was also chosen as one of 60 that went on a tour around the country. We have a photographer friend, Michael James Lesner, who has this uncanny eye for art in anywhere he looks. And he captures this with his camera and often posts Instagrams. And one day he posted this photo on my Facebook page, and he said, I challenge you to paint this. It's running water, it's bubbles welling up, just try to paint this. So I did, and we both thought that was pretty cool. We liked the way it turned out. So he said, well, paint some more. So all of these Instagrams, or paintings, are from his Instagrams. And it was really fun to try to capture the different textures and colors. Instagram has filters where you can weird out the colors, and it was really fun to paint some of that. And so, this is hard to juggle all this. Lathina's portrait is one of Michael's Instagrams. He's a professional photographer, and during a photo shoot, he had this beautiful young woman in a bathtub with all her clothes on, half submerged in water, and he took her photo. Well, isn't it a great image? So, of course, I had to paint it. And with that painting, I realized, you know, I think I could paint portraits. Yeah, I could paint flowers, but I think I could do portraits, too. So I really liked the square format and the black border in that Instagram. So I kind of made that the theme for all of my portraits, that sort of Instagram look. But I deviated from that a little bit to paint Doc Bailey. He's an iconic citizen of Roseburg. I'm from Roseburg, so I know him well. He lives on a century farm in Roseburg. He's 89 years old, and he restored this Alice Chalmers tractor single-handedly, painted it brand new. And then he put it in this barn, and it's covered with dust and cobwebs, but it's still brand new. And he took us in the barn to show us proudly his handiwork. And I could not paint that. I just love that painting. And this painting actually received the Silver Medal Award at the Emerald Art Center National Jury Show in 2014. And it's also been accepted to Splash 17, which if any of you are watercolor artists, you know it's an annual publication of the best of watercolor for that year. You enter, you are chosen, it's like a juried show. And my little doc is going to be in Splash 17, and it's due to be published next summer. So watch for it. Okay, so I really went to town on these portraits. This is a friend of mine. I painted myself, and John, you recognize us in the window, waving to you. And really love doing these portraits. It's just so much fun because it's like spending time with the person. And I'm trying to show the context. I'm trying to show something about the person's interests and their personality rather than just a straight formal portrait. I do accept commissions, by the way. Okay, I custom frame my work, as you can probably tell. It's expensive to do that, but I really feel that the framing is the completion of the painting. And I think the presentation is really important, but it's expensive. So these shells were an experiment to try to find some kind of alternative to framing with glass and mats and so on. They are painted on watercolor paper, just as I normally would, and then they're mounted on this cradled board, which is like a frame with a wooden back. So behind it's just a frame, and then a wooden floor if you turned it upside down. We stained and varnished the whole thing, and then mounted the watercolor paper on it, and then varnished over everything to protect the painting. So this looks like a virgin watercolor, but it's actually protected from moisture and so on by the varnish. I found out it's not that much less expensive than framing because there's a lot of materials that are needed, but it does give an interesting alternative presentation. So my art is in many private collections and businesses, even in part of the Umpqua Community College's permanent collection. I've already had several commissions for the portraits, and I'm excited to bring my paintings to Eugene for the first time. And I thank you all for coming. It's been a pleasure to see you and meet you. And I thank Tim, I don't know, there's Tim, for offering me this opportunity to show in his wonderful little gallery. Thank you, and if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them either publicly or privately. Be sure to come up and say hello. I'd like to meet new people and greet old friends. And enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't even know how you do it. Like an oil, it's easy to Right, you don't have light, so that's the hardest part. I feel like you would work around.
Welcome everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. Hi everyone, my name is Leora Sponko. I'm the Executive Director of Lane Arts Council. Welcome to August First Friday Art Walk. What a pleasure to have you all here. How many people, it's your first Art Walk? I know some people called the office today and said there was their first. Well, welcome. You are in for a treat. We have a very special art walk today. We are featuring our wine walk, so you are in the right place. So Lane Arts Council works to strengthen and support the arts throughout the county. So we are out to help artists and arts organizations flourish. So if you'd like to know more about what we do, please feel free to come talk to me at any time tonight. Does everyone have an art walk guide? Looks like this. If you don't, feel free to raise your hand. Jessica's coming around with the Art Walk guides. I'm going to give you a little sense of what we're doing tonight. We will be going to 5 different stops, and what's really great about our Art Walk is we get to really get to know the artists, learn about their intention and their experience and how they got to be where they are. So you're going to get fabulous interviews with the artists, and it's so awesome that we're starting in this space. This is their grand opening of Shadowfax, so let's congratulate Shadowfax. We love new spaces and new galleries and new venues for the Art Walk, so we're so glad to be here. So I'll explain a little bit about the Wine Walk. In your Art Walk guide, you will see an insert of all the wineries present at our Wine Walk, and you'll see a little walking glass symbol. That logo will let you know there is a winery represented at a gallery. So here at Shadowfax, we have Brigadoon Wine Company. They're over here, so feel free to help yourself to some wine. Other galleries will have Noble Estate, J. Scott Cellars, Treos, and Gilardi Vineyard. And this Art Walk, Wine Walk is possible because of the Eugene Symphony is sponsoring this month's Art Walk. So thank you to the Eugene Symphony for sponsoring. You may know they are celebrating their 50th anniversary. Isn't that amazing? 50 years here in Eugene, making such a difference in the arts community. They have programs of their upcoming season, so feel free to see Lindsay to grab an upcoming program. Yo-Yo Ma is coming in December, by the way. And she'll also be doing a ticket giveaway. So if you sign up with Lindsay, they will do a ticket giveaway at the last stop, and you don't have to be present to win. So you can win some tickets this season. And in honor of the Eugene Symphony, we have our host this month is a board member of the Eugene Symphony. You may know Jane Eyre McDonald. You may know her from conducting last summer's guest composer. That was on her bucket list of dreams to do, and she got that fulfilled. And she's a wonderful community member. She's on Rotary with me, and so she's really out to make a difference in the community. She's done lots of work in her career, and she's worked and founded theater groups in the Crow, Veneta area, and she also currently works as a speech pathologist. So Thank you all for being here, and help me welcome Jane Eyre McDonald.
Thank you very much. Well, I don't want to say too much because I want you to have a chance to look around and see what's going on here. We're really glad to get involved with the vineyards, and you notice right over there, we've got Brigadoon Wine Company right over there. And in a minute, I'm going to have Pancoast, who is the founder, and he's right over there, and he's going to come up and talk to you about his vision for this, and as an artist, you know, what he believes in. So we will be doing this at each venue. So we will give you the word when it's time, if you're going to stay with us, time to move on, and because we have to allow time to walk. So we want you to look around, enjoy everything, get to meet people, but I think there's going to be just hundreds of people downtown tonight, so we want you to have a great time. So why don't you come up, Pancoast, and he can tell us all about Shadowbox, and I hope you enjoy it here.
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you for coming. This was supposed to be the grand opening. It's the soft opening. We did as much as we could in the time allotted. Let me tell you about myself just for a minute. I moved to Oregon about 5 years ago, and I moved here because I was living in Florida, and I Googled, what is the opposite of Florida? Sure enough, yeah, Oregon. So I hopped on a plane, I found a house on Craigslist. I'd never been here, and as soon as I landed, I knew, like, this is where I want to be. The people here, supporting the arts, being friendly, it's an amazing place. So I studied architecture. I started taking my drawings and laser cutting them and building shadow boxes in school, and selling some in Nest, which you may know, a local store. That snowballed into Shadowbox. The whole intention behind the Shadowbox is in using a laser cutter. It's really like a new type of medium. The laser cutter enables me to take art and produce it again and again, although each piece is uniquely painted and hand-built. But I can keep the cost down and make art accessible to everyone. And that's the idea here, is to get art to everyone. Also, involving the community. So, like I said, this is a soft opening, but if you come back in a month or so, we're going to have a giant whiteboard wall right there. And I want anyone to come in, not only to see the art, not just to buy things. We don't want you just to buy things. We want you to feel creative. We want you to see this giant tree and think of something you can put in your house. You have an idea? We want to help you make it. So, yes, there's the art, but more there's a creative interaction with the community. So what's on display today is just pretty much this is basically all of my work, and most of it being inspired by Oregon, especially this piece right here, which is called Mount Hood. I took a little picture of Mount Hood when I went snowboarding in July, just because why not? Oregon is really a beautiful place, and I think we're really fortunate to be not only here, but in this community and being supported in a beautiful place with wonderful art. So please take your time, look around. If you have any questions, ask me. If you have an idea, let me know what it is and I'll make it.
Feel free to just enjoy the art, and we'll let you know when we're going to move along.
Surface and shape.
Thanks for being here, you guys and gals. The art is absolutely beautiful, and we get to find out a lot about this art here coming up in just a few. So Modern Gallery, I want to thank Denise. She is the owner, proprietor of this lovely establishment, and her Can't Live Without assistant, Carmi. They are pouring the wine back here, and it seems to keep flowing and probably will keep flowing all evening. So this is a really special time for me because Lord Lieberg is sponsoring this art walk, and I love theater. So tonight, at Modern Gallery, I get to introduce a very lovely lady, and I get to find out more about her as well because I just actually met her. Her name is Frances Bronette. Many of you might think that, oh, Storm, you're pronouncing that wrong, as I often do many words, but it's not Bronette, it's Bronette. And she will explain that in just a minute. But she is the Dean of the AAA Art College at the University of Oregon. Did I say that right?
Well, I'll fix it.
Okay, she'll fix that. That's what she's for. And she's going to tell you a little bit about the art and then some artists, and we'll find out more. So without any further ado, Frances Bronette.
It's really hard to resist because I'm from Montreal, so it just seems that it would be appropriate that it would be Bronette. But welcome everybody. I'm the Dean of the School of Architecture and Allied Arts, and for those of you who don't know, and I've said this 1,000 times, so bear with me, there's architecture, landscape architecture, interior architecture, historic preservation, planning, public policy and management, product design, arts administration, all the fine arts, and art history. And so it's extraordinary, and we have relationships with many other units on the campus. We have cinema studies and digital arts and ecological design. But tonight, I'm very proud to present to you some of the work that is embedded in this extraordinary store. And you have to figure out what belongs to the students and what was designed by our students and what actually is stuff that's for sale. Now, again, you might want to buy some of the stuff that the students made, and they will negotiate with you. But they have learned a little bit, by the way, after doing this for a couple of years. And I do want to thank Denise, who's been extraordinary in thinking of the work that the students are doing in art and applied art as something that could be presented in this magnificent venue. And I don't know how many people realize this, but I have friends who come from Italy who think this looks like Spazio Sette in Rome. And I think that's really one of the unique gems of this place in Eugene. So let me introduce one of the faculty members who ran the lighting design studio. These luminaires actually work as well as are beautiful, and so your goal is to figure out which ones are by the students and which ones are actually for sale. So Ehab El-Ziadi, who is right here, is the faculty member in architecture who teaches this extraordinary class. And we have product design, which is taught by John Arndt and Wan He, and I don't know if they're here yet, but they will be. And then I'm going to bring up the two.
And then Peter here is another product design student. He's going to just briefly talk about some of the stools over here.
Sure. Hi guys. The other two studios were focused on making these stools. Some you can see down here. This was a class working with metal. And they were based kind of from inspired structures elsewhere. And then the other class, most of which is up here, is working with wood, based a little bit more on a biomimicry side of stuff, but everything should hold up to 200 pounds, so feel free to sit on everything. Except for mine.
Okay, now, so I was thinking we'd take the microphone down to each piece and have somebody talk a little bit about the different pieces. Is that,
sure?
Does that sound good? Okay, so here we go. I need a student to tell me about this one. Is anybody here that can describe this? Excellent. And your name?
My name is Mary. Yes, so this is called Mouse Nest. And we made this out of recycled apple mice. They're, you know, they're the ones that have like just the one button and no scroll wheel, so nobody uses them anymore. So we recycled them, took off the clear plastic covers, and put trace paper on the inside so it filters the light. And we used a fluorescent, compact fluorescent bulb, which uses a low amount of energy. And the space we were designed for is a conference room at U of L, and it already has really nice daylight. So we wanted to just create a light that have nice ambient light and would create some nice lighting effects in the room.
Excellent. Okay, so Mary will be up here to explain Mouse Nest, is that right? Yes. When you make your way up here. Okay, now I'm going down here to the next light, I believe.
And we wanted to visualize the music waves in a physical form. So compression waves, and specifically, and as you can see, the translucent pulse in and out. That's our name, Pulse.
So Pulse, and they'll be right here to talk to you about that. All right, so where are we? Do we have another lighting upstairs, right? Okay. All right, over the corner. And I've got an artist right here to talk about it. Who's going to talk to me about that? What's your name?
Lighting luminaire. Kind of the ornamental function in a daycare for infants in order to make sure that the lighting wasn't too glaring because of their developing eyes, and also just for visual cues.
Well, it's beautiful, and they'll be waiting up here if you have any other questions about the lighting up here. So, oh, we have the camera light. All right, so I know a lot of you can't see the camera light, but don't forget to come up on the landing and check out the camera light. We're here. If we quiet down just a little bit, we'll be able to hear the artist talk about the camera light. Who do we have?
Hi, I'm Ati, and we decided to design a directional light for reading, and we thought of kind of the experience of like having a reading light, and part of our main idea with using the camera was to be able to adjust the lighting level, and so the lens is actually a fully working lens, so feel free to play with the aperture and the focus and all. It's fully working, just be kind of gentle with it, and yeah. Thank you.
This is one not to miss, folks. I know there's not a lot of room up here, but as Monty said, that the camera light can be adjusted. You can kind of play with it, experiment with it, but be gentle. Okay, now we're going on to the stools. Is that right? Okay, the stools. These are the stools made out of wood that I heard can hold up to 200 pounds. Who's going to talk to me about those?
Hello everyone, my name is Chris. It was inspired by Lamborghini and their extreme angles that everyone would come to recognize. It's supposed to wake you up in the morning. So when you approach the stool, you'll notice that no matter what angle you approach it, it seems like a certain corner isn't supported. So you're a little sketched out about putting your feet on it. But they all are supported, it's just the view. So feel free to walk around it and use it, sit on it. But to get a real sense of it, just walk around it and you'll get the extreme inspiration there as well. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. All right, folks, so now we have one more set of stools to talk about. I'm going to make my way down to the...
Draw on your stool. Very nice.
If you didn't hear, there's a stop sign stool down here. It was inspired by a stop sign, and you can put your pencils in there and be all ready to do your homework. Is there anyone here that can talk about the wire stools for us? Hello. Okay.
Alright, we used a bent rod, and we use a tack welding technique. Most of these structures, well, all these structures, but one is able to hold up to 200 pounds. Mine actually didn't make the 200-pound cut. It's a little tall, but then we took it and got powder coated, and overall it's a little bit stronger with powder coating. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Let's say thanks and remind you what, where they are and how they were all made.
So thank you everybody. I know you're on your way, and I want to thank the students of the School of Architecture.
One more. This is on the wall. I didn't realize that. This is a picture in the wintertime at the Huron River with ice that's about 6 inches above the water, and when the sun sparkles on this moving water, if you looked at it with your eye or you photographed it with a very fast shutter speed, you see a lot of points. But in a fourth or an eighth of a second, those points draw lines, and that's where those lines come from. This is Portfolio 5, Colorado. A wonderful friend took me camping a couple of times to get these pictures. Portfolio 6 I'm including later on with the other Greek pictures. Portfolio 7 I call proximity because it's full of close pictures, close to the subject. This is cardboard was in a window over a ghost town in Montana. And this porch railing was in Ann Arbor. I always figure if you look at this too much, your eyes may get damaged. Oh, and then we get to Portfolio 8, People and Places. These are environmental portraits from 5 countries, and this one is from Nepal. Now, I was around on the other side of this building making some other picture, and I heard people laughing uproariously around on this side, so I came where this guy was. And he made these people laugh because he put his pet monkey inside his shirt, pretending to nurse it. And so by the time I got around there and asked him to pose by sign language, he put on this stern look, and the monkey put on the same stern look. But I don't think that's characteristic of him. This young lady is from Nepal, and we have this barber is in Hawaii, on the island of Kauai, and as you see, he's rather casual with no shoes on, very old-fashioned. And the interesting thing to me was that just down the street was another barber shop called the Modern Sanitary Barber Shop. And I taught workshops at the east end of Lake Superior, in Lake Superior Provincial Park for 20 years. And so naturally I have a lot of pictures from Ontario. Now I've lumped together Portfolios 6, 11, and 22 to show you pictures from the Greek Kyklades Islands. This group of islands is about 40-minute plane ride or several-hour ferry boat southeast of Athens. This is a church on Paros. No, that was on Santorini. Well, you don't care. But I was intrigued by all the many shapes in the churches. This is a church, this dome. And I always think about, when I think of this picture, I'm reminded of the fact that this is the first time I ever did something you're supposed to do. You're supposed to pay attention to the shapes of the negative space. The sky here is the negative space. It's not the subject. And I really was conscious of that as one of the pieces I was putting together. So when you're using a big view camera and you compose the picture on the ground glass, I get a strong feeling that I am making the image instead of just taking what's out there.
Question?
What's that?
On the previous slide, is that an example of the masking effect?
Oh no. Well, some of these, this one was late enough that I started masking, but most of the Greek pictures we before I started making in shadows. So, and this one, I like this picture a lot better now than I used to, because it was in one of the portfolios. But I told you that Helmut Gernsheim's 35,000 pictures are at Austin, Texas. Well, after he started collecting contemporary photographers, I don't know how many of those there would be, probably a couple thousand. But they ended up in a museum in Mannheim, Germany. And last year, that museum, for the first time, chose from among the 35,000 at Texas and the ones they had of the contemporary photographers, to make up an exhibition of 350 photographs, and they chose one of mine, which pleased me a lot. And so that's why I like this picture a lot better now. This is a church on the island of Santorini. And I put these two on facing pages in my book because I like the way the corners work together up there, black, white, and these two corners. And just a try, about as simple as you can get. And that's the same church on Santorini that I just mentioned a couple back. It's remarkable how things change when you move a few feet. And that was my most popular Greek picture. And you know, I didn't expect anybody to want any of these things. And so, since I was just doing them for fun, I made the editions 50. Well, that was a mistake on this one. And then we get to the Great Sand Dunes. This is portfolio 12. And I like the sand dunes so much that you're getting 7 of these instead of just one. These are the highest dunes in the United States. And they're, what is it, 50-some square miles, I think, Terry? Well, Terry lives near there. Anyway, so you have a foothill dune in the foreground and a real high dune behind it. And that funny shadow up there, I don't know, how many of you know Jerry Yules in his photographs? He puts numerous negatives together on the same print. And when Jerry and I traded prints, that's the one he chose. And of course, I followed him when I saw the picture. And this is the same place in the afternoon, and the shadow isn't there now.
Where is it?
This is in south central Colorado. It takes about, what, 4.5 hours to drive down from Denver. This is a spectacular place if you want to do dunes. Of course, you have to be careful to go away from where all the tourists go, or if you want to get away from the footprints.
Very wide.
That white triangle is black in the afternoon. It's kind of fun to do the same spot. Well, there it is. I didn't remember I had it in here. And then this is from my first night spent in Grand Teton National Park. Let's see.
What year was this, sir?
1961. I was back there quite a lot of times after that and never saw a day in like this one did. This portfolio is called Photographs from 4 Decades. It's number 13. And of course I didn't want to put 13 on it, so I just called it Photographs from 4 Decades. And this is also Grand Teton National Park. In fact, I guess all of them are. Still the same park. And then we get to the English churches. I took the 8x10 camera to England in 82 and 83 to photograph small churches while I was one cathedral in this portfolio. But mostly small churches. Drove all around. I probably looked in 300 churches to see what I could find to do. These ropes are attached to bells, and they're stretched taut. At the bottom of each rope, there's a piece of hose surrounding it, so that one guy can stand there and kick these things one after the other to ring all the bells. Well, the British like to do what's called ringing the changes, which means they will take these 5 bells and they will ring them in every sequence that you can make out of the 5. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 3, 4, 5, 2, you know, every combination. Can you imagine what it would be like to be the neighbor of the church when you in practice? Anyway, so I put this on the cover of my English church book because my last preceding publication was a piece of music. And so I thought I ought to have the 5 lines of the staff on my first photographic book. That little cherub there is on a memorial plaque on the wall. I always think of this as my digital photograph. I don't do digital photographs, but I could not do this picture from the spot I wanted to be because I had my tripod sitting on the church pews. And church pews are digital. You can't be just anywhere, you got to be where they are. So I had to include more in the picture than I wanted and crop it a little bit. The English love to grow flowers, and so a lot of these little churches would have fresh flowers looking fresh in the middle of the week. Then we come to the bristlecone pine portfolio, number 15. These pictures are taken at high altitude in California and in Colorado.
Did you get to see Methuselah?
No, they don't tell anybody where the oldest one is. The oldest one is something like 4,600 years old, about 1,000 years older than the oldest redwood. And then we get to New Zealand, portfolio 17. We had 2 trips down there to get these pictures, some lenticular clouds. We never have lenticular clouds in Michigan. I don't think it's legal. This is a detail of a rock as big as a house on the shore of the Pacific Ocean on the east side of the North Island. And it was just a wonderful place to go. We had, well, it was actually on a tree farm. The tree farm was owned by a company whose top man was one of my best customers, and he wanted me to do the New Zealand portfolio. He said he'd buy 6 portfolios if I'd go to New Zealand the second time, so I did, and he kept thinking of people to give the portfolio to, so he bought 18 large portfolios. Now we're at portfolio 18, 10 cathedrals. This is the pillar holding up the ceiling of the chapter house at Westminster Abbey. And at Westminster Abbey, you can get thrown out without even going in the cathedral if you have a camera. I stood outside the cathedral, pointed at the front door, and got shooed away. But I don't know how I got away with it, but somehow I got in the chapter house with nobody looking. I did this one. This is from Durham Cathedral, which is very far north in England, right beside Scotland. Then I did a portfolio from northern Arizona and southern Utah, which I call Sandstone Country. And that's one of them. I should go faster, shouldn't I? No. and then I had a portfolio 20 called Abstraction. These are pictures that just accumulated over the years from various places. That's the roof of a car in Loveland, Colorado. This one is in the window out in front. This is the first picture I made after attending Adam's workshop. And prior to the workshop, it was advised that we should read his basic photo series, including the one about the zone system. So this is a picture made while thinking of the zone system right after the workshop. And the interesting thing is that as it was necessary for me to set a limit on how many prints I would make, just then it was printed in some magazine that Adams estimated that he had made over 900 of his most popular picture, Moonrise of Hernandez. And so I thought, well, I ought to be allowed half that many. So I put the limit at 450, thinking that was a ridiculous number. I would never come close to it. Well, the last one got sold 2 or 3 years ago, so they were all gone. And then this spring, I bought an early print back from somebody, cut it up, and used that number for the one that's in the window. So now there's 1 for sale. That's it. So, any questions? Complaints? No, all finished.
We're awestruck. We're just awestruck.
Oh, where are the color prints?